I am Slick Nick, your personal certified Enneagram coach. And yes, if you'd like to learn more about Enneagram, you can click that link right there. It takes you to Amazon. This is, in my opinion, the best source to understand more about Enneagram. Maybe in addition to watching my videos about it. But man, once you understand which one you are, and then you start learning the Enneagrams of those around you, and life starts making sense. It's funny, my sister and I recently were starting this list of like things that personally trigger us based on Enneagram, so that when we're all together, like we can understand better. And my wife and I have been doing the same thing. And even with our kids, like we're understanding, hey, this is why this person gets upset when this happens. Even though it seems random, it's not random. It's part of their Enneagram. It's very predictable. So let's get a roadmap and figure this out. So speaking of family dynamics, that's what this video is ultimately about. I, back in college, was super big into the birth order connection. So I have several of those books. I'm very much into it. I'm personally, well, actually, do you want to guess real quick? Just leave a comment right now if you're interested. What order am I in the family? Okay, I have a sister. Am I the oldest or am I the youngest? Bam, leave a comment right there. Okay, let's find out if you were right. I'm the firstborn in my family. And typically, firstborn children are bossier, they're natural leaders, they're making decisions, they stand up for themselves, they don't really fall to peer pressure. I mean, there's certain things like that. And please Google this, research this. Try to prove me wrong. Good luck on that, but here we go. Look up how many US presidents were firstborn children. You'll find that most of them were, or they were the only child, which is basically the same thing, or their older sibling had some kind of sickness or physical handicap that basically put them in a situation where the second-born ended up kind of assuming that role of the firstborn. You even see this going back to the Bible. There's always, these certain blessings that the firstborn gets. Now, that doesn't mean they're better. It just means that they do have certain personality traits, specifically in leadership, that you'll tend to see more so than the other children, whether it's middle-born or last, etc. Typically, that's the pattern that we see in general. So my wife and I were talking about this. My wife is number 9 of 10 kids. I want you to imagine that my mother-in-law was pregnant for 20 years straight. I'm not kidding. From like 1965 to 1985, she was basically just pregnant the whole time. So my wife, born in 1981, my wife's 40 just like me. My wife was ultimately a middle child, obviously. So she had plenty of older siblings, but she still had a younger sibling. She was a middle child. Me, I was not. I don't know what it's like to have older siblings. I only know what it's like to have a younger sibling. So you can imagine by default the dynamics of what it must be like for my wife and I. I'm used to making decisions and directing things. Like, here's the order, let's do this thing, here we go. My wife is an Enneagram 9 also, peacemaker. Whereas I'm an Enneagram 7, but I've got the 8 wing, so we've got that going on. So we were talking about that, and here's kind of the general pattern, what I'm perceiving here. It seems in general that if you are an Enneagram 9, there's a better chance that you are actually a middle-born child. Not guaranteed, but in general, there's a good chance if you're an Enneagram 9, the peacemaker, you are more likely to be a middle-born child, to have older and younger siblings. And in general, I would say that if you are a firstborn child, you're probably more likely to be an Enneagram, such as an 8, which I'm not. I'm 7, but my wing is 8, and I'd say it's pretty strong. I would say, if not, maybe a 3, the person who needs that success. I see a lot of firstborn children who are 3, the achievers. And if not, maybe a 1, a perfectionist. Those are some general patterns that I'm seeing. It's not to say always, but I do think it's interesting that we can see a Venn diagram overlap of what order you were born in the family and your likelihood of your Enneagram. I would say that's what the pattern I'm seeing. So it makes sense that my wife, a middle-born child, is more likely to be married to a first-born child. That's what studies tend to show. In the same way, it's pretty natural for an Enneagram 9 to be married to a 7 with an 8 wing. Your comments belong right here.